Hi everyone! If you're anything like me, your idea of compiling a firmware is something like a terminal and the make tool. No GUI, no IDE. After all, we don't want to develop something, we just want to compile something. This video is about how to compile Marlin by just using the command line. Let's get started. What you see here is a clean, fresh install of Ubuntu 20.04 in a VM. The only thing that has been done is an apt-get update and dist upgrade, as you can see here in the terminal. All commands will be in the description of the video, so you can cut and paste them later on. I'll actually be cut and pasting them so you don't have to listen to my mechanical keyboard all the time. First, I like to have my custom installed tools and apps in a directory in my home directory, so let's create that. And we change into the directory at the same time. Then we install two packages. One is the virtual env package for Python 3. If you're not familiar with virtual environments in Python 3, just Google it. There are tons of explanations around that concept. Let's enter our password here. We install this and the packages that we need with it. And the second package is just the Python TK package, which we might need later on. Also, we want to make sure that we have the wget package. That's optional. Usually wget is already installed on Ubuntu, so you might not need to do that. Then we create a virtual environment and we activate it. In Python 3 this is done by doing Python 3-m venv, and we call it platformio because that's what we want to install. Then we activate this virtual environment, and we can see that because our command line changes and has the platformio in the front of it. After we've done that, into the virtual env we install a dependency for platformio called wheel, which is done very quickly, and then we install platformio itself. This is taking a few seconds, but not very long either, as you can see. Let's get back into our home directory, and then I really like to have a directory for the source files as well, so let's create it and go into it. Now we download the latest stable firmware of Marlin. That's a simple wget for the according URL. At this point you could also do a git clone of the latest development commit that you actually want to compile here. And we download the example configuration files for Marlin, which are in their own Git repo meanwhile and thus come in their own zip archive. So here we go. Just a short while. We unpack both, just a simple unzip, and we unpack the configs as well. We'll use the SKR Mini version 1.2 board here as an example. So we change into the directory of the example files, and then we copy all the files into the directory where Marlin actually expects them for the build. That is in source as we created, and then Marlin 2.0x and Marlin, the subdirectory. I added a -v option here so you see what's copied and to where. And we change into the Marlin source directory. At this point we have two ways to actually build the firmware. One is more automated but asks you some questions. The other one needs you to choose the right settings first but then runs smoothly. Let's start with the latter one. First we need to find the Marlin internal board name string using this grep command. And here we get this define, and of the define we take the part that is behind the board underscore, so basically this part, and we grep, so we search in the pins.h file for it. As you can see, I took this part here and we are just searching in Marlin source pins.h. We have some options here now, some envs, and one is without everything. One is with 512K instead of the 256K flash. One is with USB, and one is with both. We want to build the one with USB support and the 512K, because even if you have the chip that supposedly only has 256K, it turns out that it has 512 in reality. And so we take that string, which would be this part here, including the S of course, if I may grab it, and we run the following command, which is platformio run-e, and then that string that we just cut and pasted from up there. What's happening here is that platformio will install the toolchain for the microprocessors / microcontrollers, will install for the microcontrollers that we actually have. This takes a while. I'll skip forward, and once that has finished, it will actually compile the software. Now everything has been installed, and we are actually compiling stuff. As you can see, we are compiling in the directory .pio build and then the board name. And there are a few files to be done here. And once we are done, we see that there is a lot of messages here about ignored something. Those are all the other boards that we did not build, but our board that we had selected says success after 2 minutes and 53. There is a lot more up here if we scroll up a little bit. One thing that is of note is that you can see up here a message building and then .pio build board name firmware.bin. This is precisely where your firmware will actually end up. So if you just want to do a ls-l, you can see that your firmware was built and is 230K roughly in size. The only thing you now need to do is to copy that onto your SD card file in /media, your username and directory of your SD card, unmount your SD card, boot your Marlin device for it to load the firmware. Well, that's assuming you have a bootloader that will support this, of course. The other possibility to actually do this build a little more quickly without having to do all of these greps is to use the auto build feature, which would look like this. You do just python autobuild.py and then build. The problem here is that, as you can see, it doesn't know whether you are building 512K or 256K board, so you need to choose that. And the same is for the USB support, so you choose that. And then it opens this console window for whatever reason. And does the same build, now much faster because everything is already installed and already built. But it ends up with the same result. So you can choose what suits you and decide whether you want to answer these questions every time or whether you want to have it running smoothly through. That is completely up to you. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't, let me know why in the comments. Thanks everyone for watching.